Okay, so the title on this one is a little weird. I couldn't find a good way to encompass exactly what I wanted to say in just a small amount of words. This isn't going to be a guide, but more of an informative ramble. With the uptick in players coming back and getting ready for the new patch, a lot of questions have come to me that I wanted to be able to answer, and it ended up turning into this amalgamation of a video. If you're a player who is new to the on-patch release scene, whether for raiding, crafting, or gathering, or you're just wanting to learn a little bit more about all of it, then stick around and hopefully you'll learn something new. My name is Tenelin, and let's get into it. While my biggest reason for wanting to craft the combat gear is simple, it might not be the same for everybody. I do it because I find it fun. The crafting and gathering in Final Fantasy XIV is unique and enjoyable to me. Crafting is like doing a puzzle, but the reward is cool looking new gear. But there are more reasons than that alone as to why you should do it. You can make gil by selling it to others, or be self-sufficient and craft any and all of the gear you would want for every job that you play, or even just for the glams. And especially if you're the type of player who enjoys playing a multitude of jobs, you know how expensive and tedious it is to gear all of your different jobs, especially in the early stages of a Savage tier. Being able to craft your own gear makes that so much easier. Plus, it's not as hard as it seems to craft the gear. As long as you understand the basics of crafting and gathering, you can do it. With the release of patch 7.2 on March 25th, there are a few key releases that you need to know about. The normal raid will release on the 25th, but the Savage tier will be released 1 week afterward, which is on April 1st. But with the confirmed new schedule that they did talk about in the live letter, the crafted combat gear will always release with the patch, which would be on the 25th. That means you have a full week to be able to gather and craft the gear if you're looking to get into the Day 1 Savage. Finally, the new script gear will be released for those who don't have the best in slot crafting and gathering setup. So why should you care about crafted combat gear though? Well, if you're looking to get into the Savage tier raids, then the crafted gear, especially in the early weeks, is a substantial increase in stats, which will help you do more damage, making the raid faster or possible to clear, but also it provides more vitality, which can make a huge difference, especially in the early prog groups. When going into early patch Savage raids, some attacks are designed in a way to put you down in the 10 to 20% range of your health, and having a higher health pool gives you an increased chance of survival and helps your healers have a little less stressful of a time while they're also trying to learn the mechanics of a fight. Let's take a look at the difference in stats of the gear from the 7.0 patch just to give you an idea. Now, I'm not going to break down the exact difference between the gear, but I'll show you this quick infograph, and as you can see on the left side, that is the standard tome gear from 7.0, that is the item level 700 gear, that's what you were able to buy before the Savage came out. As well, you were also able to do the normal raids, which is the second gear here, and you can see it does have a good amount of stats more. Now, the part that might confuse you is the crafted gear, the high quality stats, are actually the exact same as the raid gear, and that is intentional. The crafted gear is not substantially better, it's just better in two aspects. It's easier to get because there is no time gatedness to it, and it also has up to 5 materia slots, so you could pentameld to get additional stats on top of that. Now, the main problem with the normal raid gear is that in the first week, you can only get 4 pieces of the tokens from the raids. And now, for example, 4 of those tokens will get you 1 chest piece, or 2 tokens can get you the gloves or the boots. So it makes it so that there is a little bit of a time gate to be able to get this gear that is on the same level of the crafted gear. Because of this, being able to craft your gear will give you a substantial boost, especially in the first few weeks, while you're still getting into the time-gatedness of that normal raid. The crafted gear essentially acts as a shortcut to be able to boost your stats early and allow you to prog a little bit faster. But this all depends on your level of commitment to the content. If you're not going to be worrying about doing a bunch of Savage tier content and you aren't in a huge hurry to get the gear, then just continue farming out your limited tome gear as well as your normal raid gear, and you'll be able to gear up over time. But if you are looking for a fast-paced patch, then crafted gear is exactly what you need. So now if my little lecture kind of got you interested in being able to craft the gear, let's break down the few things that you'll need to know. To gear up your crafter, you need the 7.0 accessories at the very least. They are going to be the best gear for all of the right side slots until 7.3. For the armor and tools though, there are 2 options. Obviously, the Everseeker's tool and gear are the best for those slots right now, and Those are what I've been recommending up until this point. If you already have that gear, then just sit tight until the patch comes out, and I'll shamelessly ask you to subscribe and stop back for more detailed guides and macros to be able to craft the combat gear then. If you're just coming back to the game after a break though, or if you haven't had a chance to get the Everseeker's gear just yet, I would highly recommend you wait until the release of 7.2 and gear yourself up with the new script gear that we'll get. This script gear will not be job specific, so there will just be one for gathering and one for crafting, and it'll be easily comparable to the Everseeker set with just a lack of materia slots. And the best part is you can start to craft some of the orange script collectibles now and stock up on them to be able to buy the gear once the patch comes out. The script gear will be more than capable of crafting the new combat gear. It might just take a little bit longer with your crafting macros than the one you'll be able to use with the pentamelded Everseeker's gear. But if you're this late into the cycle, at this point, it's much easier to just wait. Once the patch is out, I'll do my best to have the macros set up for both a high-end and a budget setup with the script gear to be able to craft the combat gear. Once you've got your gear set up, or you know the path you're going to take, then the last thing you need to know is what sort of items you're going to need to be able to craft that combat gear. Well, first off, you're going to have to purchase new master recipe books that will come out for the crafters, and those are going to cost you purple scripts. I would recommend having a stock of the collectibles ready to turn in, as each of the books is probably going to cost around 1600 purple scripts each, and you'll need all of them if you plan on crafting the gear fully. Second, you want to make sure that you have the legendary folklore books unlocked for your gatherers. There are not going to be any new ones coming out for Dawntrail, so you just need to grab these as well from the gathering script vendor, and these will be all you'll need. You don't have to wait for the patch to come out. Next up, you'll want to have an idea of the materials you'll need to gather, both ones that you gather now, as well as ones coming out in 7.2. I've got a very detailed prep guide if you want way more details, but for a quick rundown, here's what I've got. You're going to need any of the level 96 to 98 crafting materials from Dawntrail, specifically things like the Rakaznar ingots or the Thunderyard silk. These plants here are going to be the stat infusion items that we're going to need. Each piece of gear is going to need some of these, as well as the potions that we'll need to craft the gear. You're going to need all 4 of these Aethersands. This water, the Yoctel spring water, and maybe this one as well, which is the sanctified water. That one will at least be needed for some aspects of the gear. You'll want to have as many of the level 100 tomes as you can, both of them, not counting poetics. But there will be new items that you can purchase from Zircon in Solution 9 once the patch comes out. You'll also be able to convert your aesthetics into heliometries, which you'll be able to get at like a 4:1 ratio. So essentially capping both of your tomes gives you 2500 of the tomes you're going to need. The items that you purchase from Zircon are going to be the items that you combine with the legendary folklore gatherer materials to be able to craft a new item. Now, the legendary folklore nodes are something you're going to need to know about as well, and these are timed nodes that have limited spawn windows that you can only gather from a single time during that spawn. You can find them here in your gathering log, and I've got a detailed guide on how to set up a fantastic timer overlay with Teamcraft as well down in the description if you're not familiar with how these work. Once the patch does come out, I will have a video guide showing off all of the different new items and exactly what you're going to need once the patch is out, probably on the first day, if not the day after the patch, just depending on my schedule. Now, I'm really not sure if this video was extremely helpful, but it kind of covered a lot of the general questions I was getting over and over again on both my comments and in my Discord, just giving you an idea of things that you might want to know for the patch. If you have questions, I definitely encourage you post a comment or feel free to join my Discord. It's full of a bunch of people that are in the same boat as you or know a little bit more than you that might be able to help you out. I'm very active in there and I try my best to help out as much as I can. You'll find all of the links to all of my guides that are going to be relevant to this video in the description, as well as the link to the Discord down below. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you're as excited as I am for the release of 7.2, and especially for Cosmic Exploration, which is another thing we'll be talking on more that'll be coming out a month later. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.